Friends, as I think you know, Parliament returns tomorrow for the first time in this new year. We're ready and we have a lot of work to do. Of course, just as Canadians are proud of our country, we're proud of our record. But more importantly, we're looking forward to the future. We love our country and Canadians sent us here to do a job. We never forget that. We're focused on what matters to Canadians, not to the pundits or the self-appointed elites and experts. We're here to serve hardworking Canadian families, the people who pay their taxes, play by the rules, and are trying to make ends meet in a challenging world. And friends, notwithstanding all the terrible troubles in the world, our Canada is moving in the right direction. Now, friends, as you know, around the world, much of the economic news is not good. In many cases, it has not been good for several years. But we've dealt with these challenges before, and we have emerged fast and strong from the worst global recession since the Great Depression. La croissance économique est en hausse au Canada depuis plus de 5 ans, et l'emploi a considérablement augmenté. We have had steady economic growth in this country for over 5 years, and employment has risen considerably. Depuis le pire de la récession mondiale, l'économie canadienne a créé près d'1,2 million d'emplois. La plupart sont des emplois à temps plein, bien rémunérés, et dans le secteur privé. Since the worst of the recession, the Canadian economy has created nearly 1.2 million jobs, and they are overwhelmingly full-time, high-paying private sector jobs. Now, friends, we know the challenges that are out there, obviously today, in the energy sector, and also for young people. C'est pourquoi, en tant que parents, nous investissons dans de nouvelles façons de former nos jeunes pour des emplois qui les attendent. That's why, as parents ourselves, we're investing in new ways to train our young people for the jobs that are out there. That's why we established the Canada Job Grant, to help Canadians train for the exact skills that employers need. That's why we introduced internships for young people in high-demand fields such as engineering, health sciences, and skilled trades. And that's why earlier this month, I announced that our government has introduced a loan program to support apprentices. Friends, these are the kinds of programs that Canada needs. Mes amis, l'impact global de notre plan d'action économique et des choix prudents que nous faisons crée des possibilités économiques maintenant et pour les générations futures. Friends, the overall effect of our economic action plan and the prudent choices we've made has been to secure economic opportunities now and for future generations. I'll give you 2 examples. Last year, we finalized trade deals with Europe and South Korea, tripling the number of countries with which Canada has trade agreements. These agreements are about opportunities, jobs, and growth. Together with the North American Free Trade Agreement and all the other deals our government has done, Canada's world-class products, workers, and investors will have virtually unfettered access to countries represented more than half of the global economy. Alors que le gouvernement précédent avait marginalisé le Canada, nous avons aujourd'hui des accords de libre-échange avec 43 pays, l'un des plus grands réseaux commerciaux du monde. Last year, we passed legislation to put the deal with Korea into effect, and friends, this year, we plan to do the same thing for the trade deal with the European Union. Nous faisons aussi des investissements majeurs, les plus gros investissements fédéraux de l'histoire, dans l'infrastructure. We're also investing big time, the biggest federal infrastructure investments ever in infrastructure. We've launched a massive program, now over $75 billion, in contributions to all manner of provincial, territorial, community, and of course our own federal infrastructure investments. We're building and modernizing roads and bridges, airports and railways, wharves and harbors, all the things we all depend on. This alone is creating thousands of jobs and will support economic growth for many years to come. The big picture then, friends, is this, that in Canada's entire history, il n'y a jamais eu plus de Canadiens au travail qu'il y en a aujourd'hui, jamais. There have never been more Canadians working than there are today, never before. And of course, friends, we believe Canadians must benefit from that, which means that when they get those jobs, they must be able to keep the money they're earning. Les Canadiens et les Canadiennes travaillent fort pour leur argent. C'est pourquoi nous réduisons les taxes et les impôts pour les familles, les individus et des entreprises qui créent de l'emploi. Enfin, en commençant par la TPS, nous avons réduit le fardeau fiscal de tous les Canadiens et Canadiennes. That's why we've lowered taxes for families, for individuals, and for businesses that create jobs. In fact, starting with the GST, we've lowered taxes for all Canadians. We established, the tax-free savings accounts. To help families make ends meet, we brought in the universal child care benefit. It puts more money directly into the hands of families with small children. To help seniors, we introduced income splitting. Et cet automne, nous avons augmenté et amélioré la prestation universelle pour la garde d'enfants pour les familles avec enfants jusqu'à l'âge de 17 ans. Et nous tenons aussi notre promesse d'offrir la baisse d'impôt pour les familles en permettant le fractionnement du revenu pour les familles avec enfants. And last fall, our government was very proud to announce, as promised, further enhancements to our low-tax plan for Canadian families. Effective this spring, we are increasing and expanding the universal child care benefit. Families will receive an additional $60 per child under 6 for a monthly total per child of $160. C'est près de $2,000 par année par enfant. That's nearly $2,000 per year per child. Those with children from the age of 6 through 17 will now also receive $60 per month. Ça représente plus de $700 par année par enfant. That's more than $700 per child every single year. We also raised the child care expense deductions for every Canadian family that incurs such expenses. And we are at the same time honoring our promise to deliver the family tax cut by introducing income splitting for families with children. That's a benefit of up to another $2,000 annually. Mes chers amis, nos adversaires ont été clairs. Ils ignoreraient la prestation universelle pour la garde d'enfants, augmenteraient les impôts pour les familles et donneraient cet argent à la bureaucratie. Friends, our opponents have been crystal clear. They would take away the universal child care benefit. They have said so on many occasions. They would raise your taxes, raise taxes back up on Canadian families. They have said so. And of course, once they do it to families, you can bet raising taxes back up for pensioners will be next. And of course they would, because they need the higher taxes to pay for their gigantic spending promises. And what they take from your families, they will give to a child care bureaucracy. This difference, friends, this difference goes right to the heart of what our party stands for. Frankly, it's a key reason why Lorene and I first got involved in politics. Nous en avions assez de voir des politiciens libéraux donner de l'argent à toutes les bureaucraties et tous les groupes d'intérêt imaginables. Et la seule chose que recevait la famille canadienne moyenne est un fardeau d'imposition plus lourd. Voilà pourquoi nous, on donne le soutien pour la garde d'enfants directement aux familles. I'm going to repeat that. We were tired of seeing Liberal politicians funneling money to every conceivable bureaucracy and interest group, and the only thing that the average hardworking Canadian family ever got was a higher tax bill. That's why we give support for childcare directly to Canadian families. Et c'est une grande différence de philosophie. Quand on se bat pour la classe moyenne, on le fait en laissant plus de son argent dans son portefeuille. If you want to fight for the middle class, you do it by putting more of their money back in their pockets. You don't do it by taking that money away. You don't do it by taxing more people more heavily and giving the money to so-called experts who think they know what's better for us than we do. Just like you can't help the middle class with a so-called carbon tax, which, as we all know, friends, is a tax on everything. It is just a way of trying to reverse the cut we made to the GST. Real help means lower taxes, and here is the bottom line on taxes. Le fardeau fiscal fédéral est aujourd'hui à son niveau le plus bas en un demi-siècle. The federal tax burden is now at its lowest level in half a century, and I can tell you that with your help, our party, our government is firmly committed to keeping those taxes down. Friends, to ensure taxes stay down, we will, as a government, live within our means. Et maintenant, parlons du déficit, which leads me to the deficit. Now, you know, with the falling oil prices, the government's fiscal flexibility has been reduced, without a doubt, at least for the short term. To some, that's a reason not to balance the budget. But to those people, there is always a reason not to balance the budget. That's how the small Trudeau deficits of the early 1970s became big deficits that went on for a quarter of a century. And it ended up with the Liberals hiking taxes and cutting our most cherished and essential social programs, health care and education, the biggest cuts any government has ever delivered to those programs. Notre gouvernement a accusé un déficit quand nous étions en récession. Nous ne sommes plus en récession. Et nous allons donc équilibrer le budget cette année. Our government ran a deficit when we were in recession. We're not in recession now, and so we will balance the budget this year. Mes amis, notre gouvernement est aussi fier de tout ce que nous avons fait pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et des Canadiennes et de nos rues et de nos communautés. Friends, our government is also proud of all we have done to keep Canadians and our streets and communities safe. We've been cracking down on violent crime. We've brought in tougher penalties for child predators. To protect vulnerable women, our anti-prostitution law targets pimps and johns. And our Conservative government has stood up for victims. For too long, the system was all about nothing other than the rights of criminals. Mais la justice criminelle existe aussi pour les victimes. But justice is for victims too. With our Victims' Bill of Rights before Parliament right now, we are going to make sure innocent victims are put back where they belong, at the very center of the justice system. But we will be doing more than that, taking more measures. Canadians expect us to protect them from the worst kind of criminal, those people who truly deserve to be called a menace to society. Now, let's be clear about this. When someone breaks the law and pays their debt to society, our hope is always for permanent rehabilitation. No one wants to see anybody degenerate into an entire life of crime. Mais il y a certains criminels, certains des contrevenants les plus dangereux, les plus violents, les pires récidivistes, dont les crimes font que nous ne pouvons pas prendre le risque de les laisser en liberté. But there are some criminals, the most dangerous, violent, repeat offenders, whose actions mean that we cannot risk putting them back on the streets. Yet sometimes we do, as the law stands. Therefore, I can tell you that in the upcoming session of Parliament, our government will introduce changes to the law. Une peine de prison à vie sera vraiment une peine de prison à vie. For the protection of Canadians, a life sentence will mean exactly that, a sentence for life. Thank you. Now, my friends, our government is also going to be taking action to protect Canadians from other threats. The evil that happened in October in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and in Ottawa, the very heart of our democracy, have reminded us, if we really needed reminding, of the grave, dangerous realities of today's world. Le terrorisme djihadiste n'est pas une possibilité future, il est une réalité maintenant. Le djihadisme violent n'est pas un danger qui existe qu'ailleurs, il cherche à nous atteindre ici, chez nous. Et nous devons réagir. Jihadist terrorism is not a future possibility. It is a present reality. Violent jihadism is not simply a danger somewhere else. It seeks to harm us here through horrific acts, like deliberately driving a car at a defenseless man, or shooting a soldier from behind as he stands guard at a war memorial, or undertaking the foiled plots on Via Rail and by the Toronto 18, acts of killing, kidnapping, chaos. Les djihadistes s'opposent violemment à notre société et à nos valeurs. Ils détestent le pluralisme, la tolérance, la liberté des autres. Violent jihadists oppose everything about our society and our values. They hate pluralism, they hate tolerance, they hate the freedom of others. And as crazy as it seems to us, they dream of destroying the kind of open, diverse, and free society that we have chosen. Our government has never hesitated to call jihadi terrorism what it is. And just as we are not afraid to condemn it, we are not afraid to confront it. That's why our government committed the Canadian Armed Forces to the broad international coalition against the so-called Islamic State, ISIL. No Canadian government should ever stand on the sidelines where our allies act to deny terrorists a safe haven and international base from which they would plot violence against us. And let's be clear. Les hommes et les femmes en uniforme ont notre fierté. Our men and women in uniform are doing us proud, and we stand 100% in support of them and the work they're doing on our behalf. But friends, just as we are confronting this phenomenon abroad, there is work to be done here at home as well. Notre gouvernement est déterminé à assurer que la police et les forces de l'ordre ont les outils dont ils ont besoin pour répondre aux menaces nouvelles et pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et des Canadiennes. This coming week, Friday, we will put before Parliament new legislation. It will contain a range of measures to ensure that our police and security forces have the tools they need to meet evolving threats and to keep Canadians safe. Ces mesures visent à aider les autorités à stopper les attaques planifiées, à protéger nos rues contre les menaces, à criminaliser la promotion du terrorisme et à empêcher les terroristes d'aller à l'étranger et de faire du recrutement. These measures are designed to help authorities stop planned attacks, get threats off our streets, criminalize the promotion of terrorism, and prevent terrorists from traveling abroad and recruiting others. To be clear, friends, in doing so, we shall safeguard our constitutional rights of speech, of assembly, of association, of religion, all the rest. These are the rights jihadists seek to destroy and that we seek to protect. Peu importe la menace, nous n'allons pas réagir de façon excessive, mais nous allons réagir. Notwithstanding the threats, we will not overreact, but neither will we underreact. Because, friends, the big picture in the world, I can tell you, and I think you know just from watching the news, it is very worrisome. Jihadi terrorists are destabilizing large parts of the globe. In Asia and Africa, an increasing number of territories are becoming ungoverned and under their influence. Attacks and plots outside these regions are becoming ever more frequent and dangerous. In Australia, in France, in Belgium, just recently, and of course, here. Que ça nous plaise ou non, les djihadistes ont déclaré la guerre à tous les peuples libres, et précisément au Canada. Et ce n'est pas en prétendant le contraire que nous allons supprimer cette réalité. Like it or not, extreme jihadists have declared war on us, on all free people, and on Canada specifically. And pretending it is not so is not going to make it go away. Canadians understand this, and so does your government. But these threats, while we will address them, they will not overwhelm us in anger or in fear. Because we as Canadians are in the business of building something that when the ISILs of this planet are long forgotten will endure and bless the world. Un Canada fort et libre, plus uni et plus prospère que jamais. Un Canada strong and free, more united and more prosperous than ever. Now, friends, in conclusion, let me just say you've heard me say this before. We get the future we choose. So what is our choice today? As conservatives, we choose lower taxes and balanced budgets. We choose trade and growth and jobs. Nous avons choisi non pas d'investir dans la bureaucratie, mais dans les familles directement. We choose to put honest, law-abiding citizens and victims ahead of criminals. We choose to take a strong stand in the world based on our values, based on our interests, based on standing by our friends and standing up against those who threaten them and us. And even as we confront the world's uncertainties and its dangers, so too we embrace its opportunities, and we do so with optimism. Chers amis, nous avons décidé de ne pas revenir en arrière, de ne pas nous faire d'illusions, mais plutôt de travailler pour continuer à bâtir le meilleur pays du monde. Friends, we choose not to turn back to silly nostalgia or to wishful thinking, but to the hard task of continuing to build the best country in the world, where Canadians are free to choose their identities, to work hard for their dreams, and to be confident that their families will be safe and their children will have the best possible opportunities in life. This future, with our hard work, is taking shape before us, and we will not rest until it is done. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for going forward with us together. Merci beaucoup.